After months of intense speculation, the bride at last revealed her secret.
Did you see it? The piece of blue fabric that's stitched inside?
No.
It was my something blue. It's fabric from my...
We now know that Meghan kept all of her wedding dress details, even from Prince Harry.
The Queen disapproved most strongly of Meghan's brilliant white wedding dress.
One was that she thought that Meghan's wedding dress was too white.
You could see it on her face, though, in the church. She was looking with a very cross sort of face, and
You know, that Meghan, obviously being a divorcee, should not wear such a bright white dress.
Meghan's spectacular veil was embroidered with some very meaningful designs.
Fantastic.
Is it as beautiful as you remember?
My goodness, it's amazing, isn't it?
Queen Elizabeth never wanted Meghan Markle to wear a white wedding dress.
Harry and Meghan changed the royal family dramatically. Remember, Meghan was only here for 3 years.
The buzz won't stop. Was Meghan Markle's wedding dress slightly ill-fitting?
Serve looks every week on American Idol. What did you guys think of the dress? Thoughts on the dress? It's the wedding
I would have done one more fitting.
The tiara worn by Meghan belongs to the Queen and dates back to 1932.
Workers had to wash their hands every 30 minutes to keep the tulle and silk threads pristine.
Wow, look at that. It's white. It's not green. It's wonderful.
the then Prince Charles walked her down the aisle. She thought that was completely unnecessary and wrong.
So I think if she'd done an ornate dress and then that veil, it would have been too much.
May 19th, 2018, St. George's Chapel. 16 feet of pure silk tulle trailing behind Meghan Markle as she walked toward Prince Harry. The world saw a fairy tale. The cameras captured what looked like a perfect royal moment. But sitting in the front row in her pale lime coat and matching hat, the Queen was watching something else entirely. Something only she fully understood. And what she was thinking that morning, what she had quietly objected to in the weeks before, has only now come into focus through royal correspondent Russell Myers and his book, William and Catherine, The Intimate Inside Story. The veil itself was the issue, not its length, not its design. The fact that Meghan was wearing one at all. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives. To understand why this mattered, you have to go back further than the wedding day. You have to go back to the engagement, to the long months of preparation, and to a tradition the Queen had quietly enforced within her own family for decades. A tradition rooted not in cruelty, not in exclusion, but in a very specific reading of what royal weddings were meant to communicate to the British public. The Queen had lived through the divorces of 3 of her 4 children. She had watched the monarchy bend under the weight of broken marriages: Princess Margaret, Princess Anne, Prince Charles. By the time Harry announced his engagement to a divorced American actress in November 2017, the institution had already absorbed enormous reputational damage. The Queen, by all accounts, had made peace with Harry's choice. She gave her formal consent. She welcomed Meghan to Sandringham for Christmas. She offered her support publicly and privately. But there were lines, and one of them, quiet, almost unspoken, concerned how a divorced bride should present herself at her royal wedding. According to Myers, the late royal biographer Sally Bedell Smith described the situation in detail. Meghan, Bedell Smith wrote, refused to tell the Queen about her wedding dress in advance. That word, refused, is doing a tremendous amount of work in that sentence. Royal brides traditionally share these details with the monarch as a gesture of respect, a quiet acknowledgement of the institution being joined. Catherine had done so before her own 2011 wedding. The pattern was well established. Meghan declined to follow it. And then there was the veil. The Queen, Bedell Smith reported through Myers, privately disagreed with Meghan's decision to wear one. The reason was specific, and it had nothing to do with personal feelings about Meghan herself. It had to do with precedent, with history, with a quiet code that had governed royal divorcee marriages for generations. Camilla Parker Bowles, now Queen Camilla, had married Prince Charles in 2005. She did not wear a veil. She did not wear a traditional white gown. She wore an oyster silk coat and dress, and the wedding itself was a civil ceremony, followed by a service of prayer and dedication. The choice was deliberate. Camilla was a divorced woman marrying a divorced man. The veil and the white gown carried symbolic weight that did not fit her circumstances, and she understood that without anyone needing to spell it out. Princess Anne had done the same thing in 1992 when she married Timothy Lawrence. Her first marriage had ended in divorce. Her second wedding took place in a small Church of Scotland ceremony, and she wore neither veil nor traditional bridal white. Anne, the Queen's only daughter, had absorbed the unwritten rule and lived it. Go back further still. Wallis Simpson, the American divorcee whose marriage to Edward VIII triggered the abdication crisis of 1936, married the former king in a quiet French ceremony in June 1937. No British royal attended, no veil, no white. The visual restraint was not optional. It was a recognition of how the monarchy understood second marriages, especially second marriages involving outsiders to the institution. That memory, that ghost, sat at the back of every royal wedding decision the Queen ever made. That was the precedent the Queen had watched unfold within her own family. 3 generations, 3 divorcees, 3 quieter weddings, all signaling through their clothing an awareness of what the white gown and veil traditionally represented. Meghan chose differently. She wore the veil, 16 feet of it. She wore a pure white Givenchy gown by Claire Waite Keller, and she did so without consulting the Queen about any of it. Behind closed doors, the Queen noticed. She did not stop it. She did not raise the issue publicly, but she registered it. And according to those who later spoke with biographers, she found the choice perplexing. What happened next surprised even close palace observers. The wedding day itself proceeded without visible tension. The Queen smiled. She fulfilled her role. She blessed the union. But the small disagreements, the dress secrecy, the veil decision, the tiara requests that had reportedly caused friction weeks earlier, began to accumulate in a way that would matter later. The tiara story is worth pausing on, because Myers and other royal authors have traced it carefully. Meghan had reportedly requested a particular emerald tiara that the Queen had concerns about, partly due to questions about its provenance. The Queen offered alternatives. There were tense conversations. Harry, by various accounts, pushed back hard on his grandmother's wishes. The phrase that emerged from that period, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets," was attributed to Harry, though he has since denied saying it. Staff who were present during those preparation weeks later described an atmosphere of polite tension. One palace source told a royal author that the conversations about the dress and the veil were carefully worded but pointed. The Queen, this source recalled, would ask gentle questions. Meghan would offer warm but firm answers. Nothing escalated, nothing exploded, but the answers, every time, came back the same. Meghan had her vision. She intended to follow it. The wedding ended, the cameras pulled back, the world moved on. But within the family, the small refusals had landed. Years later, when Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in early 2020, when the Oprah interview aired in March 2021, when the Spare memoir landed in January 2023, royal observers began revisiting those early moments with new attention. The dress secrecy, the veil decision, the tiara dispute. None of them, on their own, amounted to much. Together they suggested a pattern. A bride who had entered the family on her own terms, refusing to absorb the quiet codes that other royal brides had simply accepted. According to Myers, the Queen's private response to all of this was measured. She did not lash out. She did not retaliate. She continued to extend warmth toward Meghan in their direct interactions, but she also did not pretend the disagreements hadn't happened. The veil decision, in particular, seems to have crystallized something in her thinking, a recognition that this new family member operated by different rules. The broader context matters here. The Queen, by 2018, had spent 66 years as monarch. She had absorbed the abdication of her uncle, the early death of her father, the breakdown of her sister Margaret's romance with Peter Townsend, the divorces of her own children, the death of Diana, the slow rehabilitation of Camilla, and the steady reshaping of the monarchy around shifting public expectations. She understood, perhaps better than anyone alive, what the visual signals of a royal wedding communicated to the public. A veil and a white gown said something. They invoked tradition, a particular vision of bridal presentation that had governed royal weddings for centuries. When a divorcee wore them, that vocabulary shifted. It was not wrong to wear them. Princess Diana had, in her first marriage, with a 25-foot train of ivory taffeta that became one of the most photographed images of the 20th century. But Diana had been a first-time bride. So had Catherine. So had Sophie, Countess of Wessex. The unwritten code suggested that second marriages, divorcee marriages, should be styled differently. Meghan either did not know this code or chose to disregard it. Either possibility carried weight for the Queen. There was also the question of what Meghan said publicly about the veil. The official Kensington Palace statement at the time explained that the actor expressed the wish of having all 53 countries of the Commonwealth with her on her journey through the ceremony. Each country was symbolically represented in the embroidery along the veil's edge, flora from every Commonwealth nation, hand-stitched into the silk tulle by embroiderers at the Royal School of Needlework, who reportedly washed their hands every 30 minutes to keep the fabric pristine. It was, on paper, a beautiful gesture, a nod to the Queen's own lifelong commitment to the Commonwealth, a signal that Meghan understood the larger institution she was joining, and yet the gesture, however well-intentioned, did not address the underlying question. The Queen's concern had not been about what the veil represented thematically. Her concern had been about whether a divorced bride should be wearing one at all. The Commonwealth embroidery was an answer to a different question. There was a moment during the wedding rehearsal, according to royal authors who later interviewed staff, when the Queen reportedly observed the dress from a distance and said little. Her silence in that moment has been parsed in different ways by different biographers. Some have read it as acceptance, others as quiet resignation. Bedell Smith, in her own writing on the period, suggested it was something closer to the latter, a queen who had decided not to fight a battle she could not win, while also not pretending the battle had not existed. Staff who were present during the wedding preparations later described the atmosphere as polite but strained. Decisions were being made quickly. Meghan and Harry had their own vision for the day, and they pursued it with what one royal author called American confidence, a willingness to override palace tradition when it conflicted with personal preference. The Queen in those weeks was reportedly dealing with multiple family pressures at once. Prince Philip was beginning to step back from public duties. The wedding was just one item on a long list of institutional considerations. But the veil stayed with her. There's another layer worth noting. Russell Myers, in his reporting, has consistently positioned the Queen as someone who picked her battles carefully. She did not fight every disagreement. She did not insist on having her preferences honored in every decision. What she registered, instead, were patterns, small moments that revealed how someone would behave in larger ones. The dress secrecy, the veil choice, the tiara dispute were not, in themselves, crises. They were data points. And the data, accumulating quietly throughout 2018, suggested that this new member of the family would not be easily absorbed into the institutional culture. Whether that mattered, whether the Queen's private disagreement over a veil shaped anything that came later, is impossible to prove. The Queen never spoke publicly about her views on Meghan's bridal choices. She never criticized her granddaughter-in-law in any interview, statement, or recorded conversation. The disagreement, if it existed, remained private throughout her lifetime, but the people around her noticed. Biographers like Bedell Smith heard about it from sources close to the palace. Myers reported it in his book, and the broader picture it paints of a queen who absorbed a series of small institutional refusals from her grandson's new wife has become part of the historical record. What happened next, in the years following the wedding, is well known. The frictions multiplied. The tabloid coverage intensified. The Sussex family relocated to North America. The interviews and books and Netflix documentaries arrived in succession. And through all of it, the small, private disagreements of May 2018 began to look, in retrospect, like early warnings. The veil disagreement also tells us something about the Queen herself. She did not impose her preferences. She did not demand that Meghan dress differently. She voiced her concerns privately to her closest confidants, and then she let the day proceed. That was her style. To register, to remember, to wait. She had governed for decades by knowing when to insist and when to hold back. The veil, in 2018, was something she chose to hold back on. Years later, after the Queen's death in September 2022, royal commentators returned to these small moments with sharper attention. Each one became, in hindsight, a thread in a larger story. The dress secrecy connected to later revelations about Meghan's relationship with palace staff. The veil decision connected to the broader pattern of Meghan rejecting royal conventions. The tiara dispute connected to questions about how Harry advocated for his wife within the family. None of these threads, on their own, explains what eventually happened to the Sussex relationship with the crown. But together, they paint a picture of a quiet institutional friction that began on the wedding day itself. The Queen, by all accounts, never stopped extending warmth to Meghan. She wrote letters, she made phone calls, she included the Sussexes in family gatherings whenever she could. She gave Meghan the honor of joining her on a solo royal engagement to Cheshire in June 2018, just weeks after the wedding, a gesture other royal brides had waited years to receive. But she also, according to those closest to her, never forgot the early refusals. The pattern had been set, and she had recognized it. What the wedding day looked like to the public was a fairy tale. What it looked like to the Queen, watching from the front row in her lime coat and her quiet, measured attention, was something more complicated. A welcome, a reservation, a question. And the question, in the years that followed, would only deepen. The full story of the Queen's private disagreement over Meghan's veil has not been told in the official biographies. Not yet. Bedell Smith hinted at it. Myers expanded on it. Other royal authors have circled the same territory from different angles. But the complete picture, the full record of what the Queen said behind closed doors during those wedding preparation weeks, remains buried in the private notes and oral histories that future biographers will one day inherit. What we have for now is enough to know that the wedding day was not what it appeared to be. The Queen had concerns. The bride did not consult her. The veil was worn anyway. And the small refusals of May 2018, quiet as they were, became part of a larger story that has not finished unfolding. The monarchy continues to navigate the long aftermath of the Sussex departure. Each new revelation about the early years adds another piece to the puzzle. And the question that haunts the entire history of Harry and Meghan's relationship with the crown, what went wrong and when, keeps pointing back to moments like this one. Moments where a quiet disagreement could have been resolved and wasn't. What other private disagreements have yet to surface? What other small refusals shaped the Queen's view of her grandson's wife in those early years? The answers are still emerging, one biography at a time, one royal author at a time. And Royal Archives will be here to bring you each new revelation as it comes to light. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the full story of what the Queen knew, when she knew it, and how she quietly responded has only just begun to be told.